I'm super happy to have Nancy Oliveri today for this dialogue about the reasons of photography. We met in Iceland during a workshop organized by Nord Photography with Svei Spares, and I've discovered your work in that way. Most of your work, I will put the links below the description of the podcast towards your Instagram account and other links if necessary. So for the listeners to be able to discover your work. But I will directly go to the main question. How did you discover photography, and what does photography mean to you today?
When I was a kid, I found the Life magazines, the Look magazines, where they had all the great photographers, the war photographers, Lee Miller, Margaret Borthwick, all those photographers who were producing work. And I saw it as so much more of an authentic world than the world I lived in a small town in Connecticut. So that to me was like where what the world was. More, it looked like that. It had texture, it had contrast, it had poetry, it had documentation, it had history, it was reality. So I loved photography in that way, and I would look at all those pictures. Then when I went to college, I would skip school, skip my classes, and sit in the old bookstores and just look at the photo books. Finally, I got it through my head. I just have to go to art school. So I went to art school. I studied film and photography and did the black and white analog film developing and in a conceptual art school and started from there. Then, I moved to New York City and I pursued painting and sculpture for a while, but always came back to photography and came back strong when digital photography came out because of the ease and mobility of it. So for the past 10 years, I've been authoring photo books. I've made about 14. They're all self-published. I don't sell them a lot or distribute them a lot. It's not the part of the process that I most enjoy. In fact, I don't like that at all. So occasionally I'll sell one or two, but I don't really, my goal isn't to mass produce my books and become like known. I actually make books as a part of process of living. Mm. And I think of a camera more like an extension of my nervous system and a way to express life and to make sense of the chaos of the world and what I see. So it's almost a survival technique. It's like a thing I have to do. And now sometimes I do get acknowledged, I do get awards, and I get into shows and stuff like that. But it's something that has a trajectory of its own, like a thing I have to do.
You really seem to be in connection through your pictures to your environment, as you said. I'm thinking about your work you did during the pandemic, south of Brooklyn, or the Gowanus Canal work. Yes. How do you think it affects your own life in reality?
Okay, well, that's interesting because I wouldn't say this 10 years ago, but now that I'm 65, I can say anything I want. So having bipolar disorder, I have used photography in the depressive phases to do maybe like still lifes and more close-up type depressive work. During more manic phases, I go out in the world and I'll shoot anything and everybody, and then I pull it all together. So it's been a way almost to collect and then process, and I can go into both of those states and then make stuff. It's as far as things to do go, it's not that bad a thing. And I find it, I can make logic and make sense out of things. The most recent project that I've done, I made a book called Earth, Water, Spirit, Sky. And it's about, I covered Iceland in 2 locations, Japan and New York City. Iceland, I did in the moss-covered lava fields and the caves and the workshop that we were in. I did a whole series there of women in the caves. Then I did the Blue Lagoon geothermal spring. I did a lot of pictures of people in the water, and it's kind of abstract, in the elements. So that was earth and water. Spirit, I did Japan because I had spent some time last year in Japan where the spirituality, the ancient spirituality was just like felt everywhere, and all the rituals and all the details. And this in the shrines, I went to a lot of the Shinto shrines and photographed street photography style. Then I did New York, which I picked for Sky because it's kind of futuristic and there's an ambitious to the heavens kind of thing. And I photographed some work at the TWA Hotel in New York City on the rooftop of planes going by. It's a really beautifully designed mid-century building that's a classic, iconic thing. And I did also on top of the building called One Vanderbilt, the Summit. It's like a glass tower. And I did street photography of strangers there. So those were my 4 pieces of this book. And when we were at the workshop, I was talking to V. Spears, and we were talking about jet lag. And we were talking about something that happens with jet lag. So I went home and I Googled it, and I found a quote by William Gibson from the book Pattern Recognition from 2002. And he has a whole paragraph describing jet lag as being a condition where your spirit is lagging behind your physical body. So I thought that maybe in that transition, we actually have some sort of extrasensory awareness. And that's what I wanted my book to be about. That space when you travel where you can see things and feel things on a different level.
I was also thinking about asking you about this work. I think you didn't finish yet, Black Bile.
Oh, Black Bile, that's out there. No, I did finish Black Bile.
It's out there, okay.
Yeah, Black Bile is that one I finished and submitted as well. That is a memoir on living with bipolar disorder through photographs. So a lot of my photographs got cut up and reshaped and made into collages. And I thought that kind of showed a kind of process. I feel like people don't really understand bipolar disorder. So I thought I would try to make an experiential book to help people to understand it without words. And I kind of took it through the process of like taking disconnected things and making associations and finding patterns and chaos and then calm and then chaos and then calm. So those 2 books I just finished and submitted to a couple of competitions. So we'll see. Like I don't sell a lot, but I do like getting awards because it's a nice way to have your work acknowledged without having to like go anywhere.
How do you see your relationship to your readers and viewers? Do you think you have an intimate link that's being built?
I think I have a very narrow audience. I don't think I will have ever a very broad audience. I think it's and that's okay. I don't need to have mass appeal. I think my work ultimately is very intimate and very personal, and maybe getting more so as I get older and I don't have to pretend to be something else. Like most of your life, if you have something like bipolar, you pretend to be regular. As I get older, I'm like, forget that. It's like, I'm not pretending anymore. Let's just go with it. And there's a lot more freedom. So I don't really know who my audience is most of the time. I work and make it, and sometimes people respond. I think going into this book like Black Bile was a first for me because it's going into like a real personal memoir of like psychology, and using my 25 years of experience as a psychotherapist also informs that. So that's something very new for me, being that personal. The things that I normally would hide or edit out, I just went with it.
Regarding the books, of course, you can have some difficulties meeting the viewers or readers, but I guess you've got also some exhibitions going once in a while. Do you think people will come to the exhibition, or is it the same public as?
I don't really have much of a public, to tell you the truth.
Really?
I mean, I have curators who pick my work and show my work. I've had people have given me solo shows, and I've had a lot of exhibitions, and I participate in a lot of, but I don't really have like a following or anything like that. I have friends on Facebook, but I don't do that. I mean, I try, I've put effort into it I used to go to openings all the time and network and do all that. And now I just don't want to do it. So I don't.
Yeah. So it's really the process that interests you.
It's really the process, and everything else is let go, let go and see if it connects with people. If not, I guess it's maybe, more process oriented and I'm not marketing anything.
I don't know where I read, I think maybe an article that was talking about one of your books or on your Instagram. You were saying you used to do lots of film and went to digital photography. Did that really transform the process you talked about before?
Well, I think the aesthetic of film is always my base standard, and digital photography is always trying to get back to that, but and trying to avoid like some of the the sharp focus. I mean, I really love like grainy autofocus. I love that work. That's like where that's my standard, those types of photographers. So but it's cumbersome to have a dark room and do all of that, and I was very freed up when I could do digital and shoot like 1,000 pictures and then edit. I mean, there's so much freedom after having the preciousness of your frame. But my mind works in the way of like, developing in the dark room and how you look. And that's really where I'm coming from. And I mainly stay with black and white, but I try to use a little color, but some colors offend me. And like maybe a primary blue or a primary yellow, if they're in the photo, I have to go black and white. There's certain colors that I just can't abide by.
Yeah, so that explains a little bit. On the Instagram account, we can see some of your pictures from the Iceland part of your
Yes,
book.
I start on color, and I always have to go home to black and white. And I stay in color, and I love it, and I'm there, but then it's like, no, I can't go forward with it.
Do you see a difference between looking at pictures on screens on Instagram or on a website?
First of all, the print quality is never comparable to what I see on the screen. If I had an ambition, it would be to get like a big publisher who could publish my work on the top quality. But without having that right now, I suffer with lower quality. It's just you have to spend a lot of money to have the top kind of printing that I would like. So for now, I just do this, but that would be something that I would really hope to have. Yeah,
the ultimate way of expressing your pictures.
Yeah. So I'm just making my books, and maybe one day I'll find somebody who can print them like Rizzoli style. And I'll be happy. I'm here. I have all my books ready.
Yeah. But before we conclude, I would be just curious, because you said you just finished those two book projects. Do you have something coming up, a new project on your mind, or something?
No, they took so much out of me. I have to rest. Okay. And I'll slowly just like go to the beach and do things and like start to see what comes into my head. But that was very intense project that, both of them, very intense, like working, like getting up at 5:30, working until about noon, and then having patients in the afternoon and going back to work and doing it day after day after day. I worked really hard on them and very focused. So I'm kind of done. I made a couple of deadlines. I submitted them to like the Paris Photography Photo Book and the Urban Photo Awards. And those are places that I've gotten awards before, but I never got the top award. So I'm kind of hoping one day I'll get the top award, but you never know. So they were so exhausting that I have to like now, like almost like a palate cleanser. I have to like go do something else for a little while. The project makes itself. I start to see what I'm doing, and then I go, oh, this is where we're going.
And how long does it usually take? Or is there no rule?
There's no rule. I have no rules. I think you caught that about me. I don't have rules, and I only have freedom. And I look to art and photography for complete freedom. I would have been happy to have a career and be a celebrated artist too, but that, in the 80s when I got out of art school and looked around, I did not see that as a path for me. And I think I was correct in figuring out how to have a whole professional life as a therapist and working with recovering drug addicts, alcoholics, people with schizophrenia, bipolar. So it was very complementary, because most of my patients are all artists or art gallerists, or so it was a very complementary way to earn a living.
Well, I want to thank you again a lot for this small dialogue. We'll keep in touch, of course, and maybe do that again if you have some new projects coming up. That would be great. And but thanks so much, and catch you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.